any culture in the world, I personally believe, revolves around food in one way or another. I think food is the one thing that unifies all people everywhere in the world. Is we all need to eat, we all love to eat. So food plays a big part of that, that sort of cultural anchor that we feel in terms of the connectedness to our past. But that's a really good example about the Middle Eastern bakeries. I remember when it opened up. I remember the first time I walked in there. Excuse me. I remember the first time I walked in there, and it felt like the most beautiful thing because I could smell all the different spices, and it smelled like home. And obviously, I was looking through the the display stand, and I was like, oh, I know everything here. It's just so good. And I can't believe that it took so long for someone to open up a Middle Eastern bakery here, but they do great. There's people there all the time. And, and I've introduced so many people to that place because they just do a good job. They're humble, they're down to earth. It feels like it's a perfect fit for Tasmania. So, I think Middle Eastern food has a lot of love in it, a lot of heart in it as well. So, when you describe food as being hearty or being comfort food, I always think of Middle Eastern food. It's just so considered, I think, and there's a lot of history in there as well.
Yeah, and also food has, we have strong emotional connections to particular, like a dish that our mother cooked when we were kids, and especially when you're far away from home. And I'm saying this because so many people I've talked to have mentioned things like this. There are, there's a real emotional power to being able to cook a particular dish here that you've missed because your mum's over in Turkey or somewhere, and you want to, it connects you to this place where you used to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, interestingly enough, my partner was visiting last week. She lives up in Launceston, so she was over, and because we just started Ramadan, I decided to sort of cook something a little bit more traditional and something that just reminds me of home. And she absolutely loved it, and she got into it, and she was helping me cook and so on and so forth. But ultimately, what I realized that whole experience offered was a deeper connection to my partner as well, because she got to hear about the stories that I had that took me back to this time where this dish was present, and the connection that I had to the family and to the food that we cooked together. And now that I'm bringing that into into this relationship with my partner, and it actually bonded us a little bit closer. We felt a little bit more connected just because we sat there cooking this dish together and eating it together and talking about it and talking about the history and the connection that I have to it. So I think food is, again, something that can really help people understand each other a little bit better.
Some people they are invited to my house, and then I cook something for dinner or something, and they just surprised, they're feeling weird that I do that stuff. And I say, oh no, I said, don't worry, because this is what we're doing. If I have a guest, I have a friend visit, then I need to feed them. You don't go out from my house get hungry. You gotta have a full stomach when you come to my house. So, and then sometimes I if there's a leftover, all right, take it home with you. And then it's are you sure you don't have to do that? And I said no, I want to do this. That's okay, because I'm happy to do it. Which they're thinking it costs money, and the food and everything. But I don't think that way. It's food. I already cook it. So, and I'm happy if someone enjoy my food, I'll be take it home with you, because I know that they're going to eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of our culture. That when you come to my house, you don't get hungry. We gotta feed you. We gotta like give you something to
Yeah.
eat.
You sort of grew up in a more of a country, rural area?
Country rule, yeah. Grandpa even had 2 cows.
Okay.
Yes, and we had fresh milk. And we grew around potatoes and vegetables. We had a big garden in the back.
Yeah. So is that the usual sort of lifestyle for people in that
Yeah,
area?
everybody was about, had a little garden or a little field nearby somewhere.
Yeah, very, very different lifestyle to today.
Different
I guess.
lifestyle, yeah. But it was, I suppose, healthy. So we had fresh milk every day, and all health, good vegetables,
Yeah.
and meat. We only could afford twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
But in winter it was a different story. We had our own pigs.
Oh, okay.
We had our pigs, and every winter we had killed 2 pigs with the help of neighbors. I didn't like to listen to the poor pig when they cut his throat. But all the lovely things we can have. When we came back from school, we had a feast.
Yeah. So what kind of food was sort of common to eat at that time?
Oh, well, in early autumn, there was the sauerkraut, making the sauerkraut cabbage. Oh, that was something for us children. We enjoyed it because we had to dance on the cabbage.
Okay.
Yes. Grandpa would grate it and then put 1 raw cabbage and herbs and what else? All sorts of herbs and salt. And then every row, and we children had to wash our feet, and then we were dancing on it, treading on it, to have a real fun. And when it was full, then was put 2 big stones on it, rocks, to keep it down, and was put in a cellar. And we had sauerkraut all through the winter.
Yeah.
And sauerkraut was cooked with some pork from our pig,
Yeah.
and it was very delicious.
The typical dishes you would have, of course, seafood. Fish is such a big staple for the Creole families. But yeah, it would be really spicy. So there's a lot of influence of Africa, Asia, and Europe in terms of how the people look, basically. And also the cultures are shown then through our cuisine. So we have a lot of curries. We have a lot of dishes that involved chilies, fresh produce, of course. A lot of them are also salted. So we'll have salted beef, salted fish, salted pork even. And back home, when you would go to the butcher and you walk in and you'll see just like the locally made salted sausages that we would normally cook in lentils. And that's something I so miss. I can't seem to find the right sausages here to do it with. And then you would also see blood sausage.
Okay.
So that was also something that is quite popular back home. But then just grilling large snappers and trevally and all that, like groupers as well. And that's something that's just you go to someone's house for dinner or a party, there's always a whole grilled fish there. Like, it's just, expected, and then the curries are endless, like chicken and octopus, beef, pork, chicken. Like, I think the Creole are also like very adventurous in the stuff they cook as well.
Mm-hmm.
But also there's a lot of sweets. And I think a lot of the sweets actually come from the Indian part.
All right.
Because we do have similar sweets to them. But then going back to my grandmother, she had this dish that she would always prepare using mango, which is a savory dish. So she would use 2 bread knives. So instead of like using a grater to grate the mango, she would use the 2 bread knives and like just hit onto the mango all around and sort of like chip away at the mango to make it. And it was amazing. Like, she would just do that all the time. And then I asked her, I said, like, why wouldn't you just use a grater? And she said, no, this is how my grandmother taught me how to do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And it's the same with like coconut milk. You'll never go to someone's place in the Seychelles and they've like canned coconut milk. It'll be done fresh from the coconut. They'll sit outside and just grate at it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So those small things like that, and the whole experience of like, even when we cook something here and it turns out to be 90% of what it could be back home, it just brings memories to both of us. And it's something so special, I think, for us. And I think my mom knows that we miss those little things. So sometimes she posts little care packages with all the biscuits and treats that we like from back home. So we're very thankful for that. But I think the Creole food is just something very different.
Also about food, this is quite funny. So you probably know in Russia, I'm sure it's the same, people are very hospitable. So especially against smaller towns or older generation, if you come to visit someone, especially if it's been previously arranged, like, come to visit me, or like, come to have a cup of coffee, there wouldn't be just a cup of coffee, there would be a full meal, and like, sometimes too much of it. And especially if it's an occasion like a birthday or a New Year's Eve or some other thing, that would be just like ridiculous amount of food in the house. Like my friends, so like people from big cities who are younger, kind of getting less and less. But I mean, this tradition is still in place, but people cook less and less. They might order some food. They might like pre-arrange because they're busy. But this tradition is still in place. Like your house needs to have food if you're inviting someone. Here, it is so relaxed. Like we might, like my husband and I, sometimes we go to Launceston to visit his friends, or they come over here. And first times I was quite anxious. I mean, like, oh, they are coming for your birthday. What are we cooking? It's like, we're going out for dinner. I'm like, yeah, but what are we cooking? So it's, those things are quite, after that I relaxed completely and I just taken it as a blessing that I don't need to cook for more people than I'm used to. So yeah.